On their way to winning the FNCS Invitational, Cammy and Setty played the most perfect game of Fortnite that I've ever seen, so let's figure out what exactly they're doing. Their success starts in early game with the Cammy split. It's split into 3 stages. Stage 1 is loot, stage 2 is clear, and stage 3 is tag, tag, and tag. The duo lands in an area called Cammy Split. It's not a specific POI, but they both drop at this gas station. Then one player is going to steal some loot off to the right, go up top. The other player is going to loot the entire gas station, and they both wind up meeting at the vault. After they finish looting, they build a base right underneath the balloon, and they're going to start piling a lot of heals within this area, and we're going to see Setty sit here while Cammy is going to go clear everything nearby. That's both going to be heals that he's bringing into the base, and also taking down trees to allow this team to have better vision and no free rotates hiding behind these trees. This is a really smart technique that I haven't necessarily seen a ton of teams do, and on top of that, they're not fully clearing the trees right away. They're leaving them 1 HP so that way Setty can take them out afterwards and Cammy can still use them as cover to get back. Before first zone even closes, these two are fully set up in their base, ready to take tags, and if they take damage, they have a massive pile of extra heals. The tagging stage is simultaneous to the clearing, as Setty is always in the base looking for tags. But once they're finally ready, both of them get in there and then just start tagging away. This is really impressive to see them do this because they sit here and just dominate this middle area of the map. So many teams are forced to come through here and they're consistently tagging these players. This is how you get Storm Surge without having to worry about a fight, and these two get so much damage done. Not only that, but because they're at this balloon, everyone wants to use that to rotate, so they're going to be coming to Cammy and Setty, and this is a perfect play which allows them to get 2 eliminations out of the air as they're just chilling in Storm. Now, you may wonder, why are they just chilling in Storm? Why are they taking this extra damage? Well, one, they're forcing players to sit in Storm, allowing different angles that you wouldn't necessarily expect, because a lot of players play like there's nobody in Storm behind them. Secondly, on this third zone rotate, they sit in Storm and allow players starting to rotate to third zone. Instead of having to be one of those teams rotating, they're going to use the white heals, take tags, take advantage of those teams that are rotating out in the open, get more damage done, and then right before fourth zone is about to appear, they hit the balloon, get themselves out, and then fly into the center of fourth zone. You might be asking, why in the center of fourth zone? That means you're not going to pull fifth. Well, this is to mitigate risk. This is to allow them to rotate easily no matter where fifth zone pulls. Instead of gambling as to where it's going to be, they put themselves in a good position in fourth zone, right in the center, and then allow themselves to have a nice, easy fifth zone rotate. Here is that fifth zone rotate, and even though they have to go across a valley, they are in the center of zone and most people are on edge, so they're able to actually use these mountains as natural cover. Instead of just boxing up down at the bottom of one of these mountains, they're going to elevate, put themselves on top of this to make sure they don't get buried and allow themselves to then make the next rotate. This team is always thinking ahead and making sure they're putting themselves in a position to be successful for the next zone. When surge damage appears, we can see how successful they've been because they are well above necessary amount of damage in order to avoid storm surge. But that doesn't stop them from continuing to tag. It's just ingrained in them to constantly be putting out damage. Moving zones start, and even though they're well above surge, they're still just taking shots at players. They set up this perfect box to damage anybody out in the air on the front side of zone, and they're just going to continue to do this until zone's at their back. Then they're going to hit a pad, rotate into the next zone, put themselves on a good layer, and we see constantly as soon as they land, Cammy is elevating or changing layers to avoid being right next to somebody or right on top of somebody. On top of that, they are always on the sides of zone. So in this example, they take the left side of zone to make it easier to rotate. You don't want to be in the middle because that means there's players on the left, right, top, and and bottom. If you're on the left side, you eliminate the left side of players. Next zone comes, they do the same thing, hit a pad and launch. But while in the air, take a look. Setty takes a quick peek at high ground and notices there's nobody on there. As they continue to dive, a team is going to start building up and establishing height. But what this tells Setty and Cammy is that there is not an established high ground and there's potential for this to be taken. They're gonna box temporarily and then sprint to the front side of zone. Immediately, once they establish themselves on front side, they look up to try and chop the high ground and take them down without much of a fight. We see Setty's quickly gonna get the elimination, and now high ground is theirs. This has been the biggest development in Setty and Cammy's gameplay. Traditionally, they've been a low ground, maybe a mid ground team, and one of the best low ground teams that there is. But over the past year, they've learned to make plays for high ground. This is because you win games from height and you don't necessarily win games playing low ground. You'll be consistent if you can control it, but ultimately low ground is a lot of chaos, especially in the final zones. Come 7th, 8th, 9th zone, high ground is the best position to be on, and these two are going to show us exactly that. They just continue to lock it down, fire through this lobby, and make sure that they are the best team in here. This was a perfectly executed high ground play, and now they're going to show us how to close out a game. The closeout starts with all the work that they've done early. Because they're using the pads to rotate efficiently without using a ton of material, and they took high ground without having to build fight for it, they still have a ton of mats to play up here. A lot of teams that take high ground are shambles and don't have the ability to build while they're on high ground and rely on a refresh. These guys don't need anything at this point in the game and simply just can rain down fire until it comes down to the final 2v2. This is impressive to me because they don't falter and they don't try and make a hero play. And by that, I mean not one player trying to jump down and eliminate both players by themselves, which often throws the game. They stick together, continue to put pressure down from up above, and just fire shots at the two players below. They know there can't be much down below, so Setty and Cammy, they stay calm, they stay patient, and just continue to deal damage knowing they have the advantage and don't need to drop down and overcommit to a play and throw this game. Eventually, they are going to hit the final shots, and there's that big victory royale, finishing off the perfect Fortnite game. To quickly recap everything so you guys can understand the perfect Fortnite game, it comes down to 1, knowing your drop spot and dominating it. For Cammy and Setty, it's 3 stages in the early game: looting, clearing out the area to give themselves vision, and then 3, tagging. Next, it comes down to, again, knowing your drop spot. You sit underneath the balloon, force players to come to you, get a ton of damage, get a couple of eliminations, and then you're able to rotate into fourth zone for free in the center of zone and make an easy rotate. Now, you've mitigated risk because you're in the center of fourth zone. You make an easy rotate to fifth zone. In moving zones, you're going to use your pads, not tarp too much, save your mats, get to front side of 7th, moving towards the end of it, shoot out the players, boom, easy, victory royale on high ground, taking it for the dub. Thanks for watching. You guys will enjoy this one too.